going to let you sleep. You're going to be on the edge of your seat the whole afternoon, receiving and receiving and receiving. I'm going to wait another 4 minutes. We have a 10-minute wait when we pray. Would you take that time to just think of what we learned this morning about communication? Communicating with love, with wisdom, communicating with truth, speaking that truth in love, the words of affirmation. Yes. Remember all the things we learned this morning. And I hear that what we learned in the morning will tie up with what we are going to learn this afternoon. But I believe there is something even beyond learning, which is the Holy Spirit putting those things in us and bringing transformation. So receive not just the word, but the transformation of our lives by the truth. Thank you, Lord. How many have questions? Because we're going to have a Q&A this afternoon. If you can prep any question you have, you're going to have a chance to ask questions and to hear answers from our trainers this afternoon. So I feel like this is going to be more interactive as well in that way. But also there'll be a blessing, a prayer of blessings at the end. So this is part of just the whole experience. And then tonight you can take your loved one for the Valentine dinner. We wanted to make sure you do that. So you can go to your choice restaurant. And thank you. Well, I will let you have the mic because I'm going to go get the people to come in. But I'm going to let you do everything you need to do.
All right.
And I believe God will bless.
Thank you, Pastor Sauls. Hey, we'll get started. It's always good to have a story to get started before we go deep and dive into the material. So Sheila and I will be married now for 40 years this coming May. Yeah, thank you. Believe me, that applause is all for her. And so we actually dated in high school. We actually went to the prom together. And that's a story for another time, but we went to the prom together. So we dated in high school for 2 years, and then 4 years through college. And I did story. So you know what? I felt like marriage would be a breeze. I've already been with this woman for 6 years. And as soon as we got married, I'm going like, wow, who is this person? And it came about even more so when one of our first trips together. We went to Puerto Vallarta and down in Mexico. And I don't know if you guys ever been to one of these kind of things. They have a lot of them where they have like a boat, a speedboat, and they're pulling along like this inflatable craft. You know, this was like a banana boat. Yeah. So there's like two guys in front, I'm here, and then Sheila's behind me. And we're on this thing, and we're just hitting the wakes, and it's going like, bam.
You left out a few details.
Oh, wait. This is my story.
It's our story. You left out a few details. Let me set the scene. So we're on this beach, and Kendall was not the man he is today. And he was goading me into getting on this thing. Now, I can't swim. And so I didn't want to get on it. And he was like, you're no fun, you never want to do anything fun. So I said, okay, I'll get on the boat. Okay,
now we pick it up. Now, everyone has a life vest, okay? So we all have life vests.
We were in Mexico.
We have a life vest. And we get on this thing, and we're just hitting the wakes and waves, and it's just a little banana inflatable boat. It's getting airborne. Boom, boom. And one time we hit one really hard. We get way up in the air, and it slams down. All four of us, basically fall off of this thing. And we're just in the water, and we all come up, and I'm just looking around. I see the two guys that were in front of me, and I'm looking, where's Sheila? And I'm going on the water, and she's going the other direction. She's sinking, and I go down, and I grab her by the back of the life vest and pull her up. And she goes, she put her face. I said, don't worry, hon, I got you.
I call this the story where he tried to kill me. He knew I couldn't swim, and he goaded me to get on this thing. Okay. He calls it the story where he
saved your life.
Yeah, so we just see things very, very differently.
Yeah, you know, that's right. This is one of the examples of marriage where you look at things so different. I went under and saved her life. I could have been a widower at 23 years old. Yes, my wife died in Mexico. She drowned. But I saved her life. And he
tried to kill me.
So that's the beginning, and I'll hand it back. No, so this is not. So go back to the very big first slide, please. And so that's where we start our time right there. The differences, the way we were brought up, and the way we look at things. You don't know it until dating. Everything it gets you a little bit of understanding, but not until you get in making decisions together, and definitely when you start looking at like just the nuances of life. So, but what I share with this, if you don't see it down here, having a vibrant marriage, a healthy marriage, is intentional. It's intentional. It's great that you're here. Sheila and I, as we go to the next slide, please. I share with people, Sheila and I come back from different backgrounds. Her parents were in a marriage together for over 60 years. Military, her dad spent 30 years in the Army. He was a Korean War vet and a Vietnam vet. My dad spent time in the military. He was a Vietnam veteran, 25 years. But unfortunately, my parents divorced when he came back from Vietnam. And I have no memory of them actually being together. So I share with people, how many of you, raise your hand if you want to have a type of marriage that your parents had. Raise your hand. Okay? Very few of us. I have very few. So the question that I had going in life, I didn't know this because I didn't grow up in a Christian home, is where do you get the modeling of once you do get married? You find that person, yeah, I think I want to marry them. But you know what? As soon as you decide to marry, you sign the marriage license, you have a great pastor like these guys, and then what? Guess what? You have a new job title, and you don't even know it. Husband or wife. I can tell you in the military, when you got a new job, months and months, sometimes years of training before you're let loose on your own to do that job. But in marriage, all you have to do is sign, and now we don't even do it. We understand it's intentional. So this is why this is important. This is life. If you know about NASCAR, you think about the tracks, just high speed. This is our lives. Work, especially if both of the spouses are working, right? Work schedule, travel schedule, kids activities. Oh boy, another kid's coming. You got their activities, soccer stuff. They're in tournaments. They're doing great in sports. Boom, boom, boom. You'll miss the importance of how you invest in your marriage, godly way, because life will take you away from it. There's nothing in our culture that reinforces what you're going to learn today, what you learned this morning, and what you're going to learn this afternoon. Next slide. So this is why pit stops are important. You know what? If you want to operate at the high level where God wants you to be, at the height of your marriage, you'll do these pit stops like you're doing today and understand that we need to spend time in the Word, reinforce God's teachings, and bring it back because we're not naturally inclined to be patient, to be loving, to be kind, and to save someone's life even when they think they're trying to kill you. Okay? And what I mean by this, think about it. For your car, you take your car in for an oil change, for a tune-up, get the tires. You do it before the car breaks down because you don't want it to break down. Same thing for your marriage. There's nothing in this culture that's going to reinforce the principles of what God has for marriage. It just doesn't. They have their experts. Time Magazine, People Magazine. Trust me, that changes every 5 to 7 years, right? So for us, we went to a marriage workshop this 2 weekends ago. I asked Sheila, man, how many times have we gone? It was 15 times in 40 years. Now that equates to 2.5 workshops, marriage workshops in 40 years. Now I don't suggest that you need to do this every 2.5 years.
We needed a lot of work.
We need a lot of, I'm a little slow on the gun. So that's why I needed so many. Maybe every 3-5 years, it's this, you get an in-depth focus on God's principles and key learnings over the time. But look, if you want to be at the top of your game, operate at the top of your level, take some pit stops, get your engine tuned up, get your new tires, so you're operating at the high game. Okay, next slide. All right, this is me with hair. No, was it Paul? Paul was complaining about some gray hair coming in. I said over, at least he has hair.
So Kendall and I, as he said, met in high school. We went to the prom together. We wanted to have, we thought when we got married that we were going to have this great life together. But things they didn't work out. We weren't Christians when we got married. At least we weren't practicing Christians. So like Kendall said, we were just in the culture. We were just in the culture, not knowing what we were doing.
Next slide.
So we get married, and
doesn't she look great?
So we get married, and we start life, and it's hard. It's hard because we didn't know what we didn't know, and there was a lot of conflict.
Learning on the way. And next slide.
Just kind of
and
learning
we were married for 5 years before we came into the faith, and these were some of the pastors that started to change our life. Someone invited me to church. I didn't want to go. Someone invited me to church, and the only reason I went because it was a family friend, and Tony Evans was the pastor, and it was the beginning that changed my life. It was the best decision I ever made. I got baptized in that church in Dallas, Texas, and then some of these others, but that was the journey. My siblings in this broken family that I lived in, that I grew up in, none of my siblings have been ever together with any of their spouses. They have multiple marriages, multiple things, and their kids that they've raised, these are my nieces and nephews, none of them know what it's like to grow up with a mother and father at home. It's like this dome of protection came over our family and our kids. And that was because of the grace of God and the decisions we made to embrace the teachings of Jesus Christ and bring them into our lives.
So this is our family. This is an older picture. We have 5 children. The oldest now is 32. The youngest there is now, how old is he?
21.
Yeah, he's 21. And this is what we were striving for all those years. We were striving for this, but we didn't know how to get it. And we also now have 2 grandchildren.
And one on the way.
We
found out at Christmas.
So we knew that we wanted something different. We definitely wanted something different, but we didn't know how to get it. There have been tons and tons and tons of books that have been written on marriage. But we were reading them, but they weren't helping. But the information that we're going to share with you this afternoon, it transformed the way that we relate to each other. And this offers a positive model for marital intimacy. Now, we're not talking about sex. We're talking about intimacy and knowing one another.
So with that said, someone tell me, what do your children have to do in order for you to love them? In order for you to love them more? That's right. Someone said it. Nothing, right? Next slide. This is what God says. God sees people for where they are. He meets us where we are. Even at the worst times of us, he meets us where we are. And he tells us, he gives us direction. I give you a new command, that you love one another, even as I have loved you. That's John 13:34. Well, even I have loved you. I mean, he came down to the worst and the worst of us, right? And how you start showing that example of that is the first place is in your marriage. And I can do all the things I want to do to anyone else in public and all, but if people look at her face and they see that she is downtrodden, everything, that is a reflection of me in our relationship. Okay, if you guys know the guy that started Promise Keepers, he said one of the reasons he started that, he was at a Bible study, and the guy giving the talk said, I can tell how well a man is leading his family by looking at the face of his wife. And he said when he got home, he looked at the face of his wife, and he says, oh my God, I need to do something. He quit. He had a national championship coach at the University of Colorado. He quit coaching and started Promise Keepers because he felt convicted by this. Next slide. So who wants to share what the first crisis in the Bible, from the beginning of time, this is a little bit of a hint if you read about it. First crisis in the Bible was what? This is the first time we hear that when God looks at Adam, he says he's alone, and he puts the two words together, not good. This idea of not good that had never been there before. First crisis of the Bible. Okay? That's right. Man being alone. Man being alone is the first crisis. Not good. God actually, he identified the problem and came up with the solution. But here's a scenario. This was when everything was perfect in the world. You know, Adam had it made. He was in a sinless place. He was naming all the animals. He had charge of the whole world. But the whole thing, there was one aspect. He was not good because he was alone. And he brought the solution, obviously, with Eve. Next slide. And the idea of being intimate, that man's needs are being met in the institutions that God developed. He developed marriage. He developed the family and the church. When we have this loneliness, when we need intimacy, these are the institutions that God designed for us to be met with the stresses of life, the loneliness of life. It's sad to hear right now when there's surveys that we have probably one of the highest percentage of people, Americans, that are suffering from loneliness and isolation in the history of the nation. When you do those surveys, when you meet these people and you start getting information about these people, they're not involved in any of these three things. It's tragic. Because we go to Revive Church. It's a great church. We've got some of the members here. The pastor always says, "Look, guys, the world wants to complicate things. It's pretty simple. It's two kingdoms: God's kingdom and the one that wants to intervene and disrupt it. Two kingdoms. This is what God has designed. The enemy complicates people's world and make it so they don't get to these things." And it's tragic what we're going through. Next slide. And so as I transition this to Sheila, this goes back to the NASCAR racetrack, okay? Our world that we live in, there's no app for what you're doing right now in this room. Understanding how God wants to enrich your life, enrich your marriage, and enrich your families. The darkness is always chasing us. There was a scripture in Ephesians from Paul and Deb earlier that spoke to this. The darkness is always coming for your marriage, coming for your family, coming for your life, if we're not intentional and staying ahead of it with God's direction for us as Christians, right? And the key here is that chemistry does not equal intimacy. So physical attraction does not mean love. That means lust or something else. It's not intimacy, it's something spiritual, and there's a connection. That's the critical piece. And that thriving marriage is a choice, is absolutely a choice. And it's something intentional that you have to work on. Because I can just tell you, my selfish tendencies, right? I want the best for her, but sometimes, over time, if you stay away from the Word, as you stay away from church, and you stay away from godly people, godly men, the selfishness comes back because we're inclined to do that as sinners. And if we're not keep ourselves renewed and refreshed in this, then the distance will start to happen in your marriage. Next slide. I think this might be you.
Yeah, that might be me. I'm going to back up just a little bit. So what we're offering this afternoon is really a blueprint for change. It's a way that you can change your marriage. It wasn't until we learned this and learned about this that our marriage really, really began to change. We've all been stuck, right? Some of us might be stuck right now. But this today isn't just about information, because the information that we're sharing with you is grounded in biblical truth. And that will help change the way you think and you act towards your spouse. Because we're supposed to be, as we learned this morning, imitators of Christ, right? But ultimately, it's about the greatest commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And love your neighbor as yourself. Who's your neighbor? Your spouse. Your spouse is your neighbor.
The one that saved your life.
And the more intimately you know and you love Christ, the more intimately you will want to know and love your spouse. Got us a little out of order, so I'm just getting back on track.
She was always a front row student in high school. Always.
So only intimate relationships remove aloneness. There's nothing else. That is why God designed marriage, to remove aloneness. And that requires a certain type of relationship, and that's a relationship that in which you are connected, in which you are caring for the other person. So there are three Hebrew words that often translate to intimacy. One is yada, and I'm not a biblical Hebrew scholar by any means.
He gives you a thumbs up.
But, I'm sorry.
He gave you a thumbs up.
And that means to know. To know in an intimate relationship is deeply knowing another person. The second word is to disclose, which is sod, to disclose. I call that one vulnerability. In an intimate relationship, we disclose transparently who we are to another person. So it's just like Adam and Eve were in the garden. They were naked. They were not ashamed. And then the third one, sakan, which is caring. Caring. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. That's Psalm 139:3. In an intimate relationship, we have a deep mutual knowing, and that knowing is for the purpose of caring for the other person. So knowing one intimately, when you know someone intimately, you want to experience life with them. So when they hurt, you hurt. When they're happy, you're happy. And when they hurt, you care for their hurts. You care for their hurts. So what we're going to do a little exercise right now where we're going to experience Romans 12:15a, rejoice with those who rejoice. So you're going to complete this exercise with your spouse as a way of experiencing, knowing, disclosing, and caring. So we're going to take time to celebrate one another. So I want you to think about a positive memory from your childhood, preferably before the age of 12. So remember a time when you felt loved, appreciated. Maybe it was a cared for special. Maybe it was a special birthday, or maybe it's a special time, a fishing trip, a camping trip. And then you're going to think about that memory, and then you're going to share it with your spouse. And so you're going to say, I remember when, and then you're going to tell the story. I have a memory of my father when he came back from Vietnam, and my mom was combing my hair, and I was miserable. And my dad was sitting there on the porch with me, and he said he would give me $0.25 to buy candy. So penny candy. For those of you who can remember, $0.25 was a lot of money to go and buy candy. Anyway, so that was a really good memory for me. So at any rate, so you're going to share this memory with your spouse, and then your spouse is going to celebrate with you. And men, you're going to do this first. You're going to take the lead. You're going to share your memory with your wife. And then she's going to rejoice with you, saying things like, I'm so happy for you. That must have been great. And then you're going to switch. And then the wife is going to share a memory with the husband, and he's going to celebrate with her. So, okay? So could you turn the music up a little bit? So if you're really close to somebody, you might just want to scoot away a little bit. And just stand. If you guys could stand up, would you stand up? It's easier to do this standing up because you can get a little bit of distance. Yeah. And you can just share that intimate memory.
Okay, another 2 or 3 more minutes. Just another two or three more minutes. All right. Well, I know. Okay. I want to say something, Robert. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here just a minute. So I can just tell you, just observationally, a lot of heart-touching scenes there. It is great to grow close to each other like this. It isn't. It's just. So one of the things I share with our children on about this issue right here is that they, instead of being sibling rivals, that they need to care for each other's hearts as they get older, and they share highs of success. The world will be jealous of them. They're not going to rejoice with them. They need people to rejoice with in their life, but also those when they're down to the lowest depths, to come alongside them. We're teaching our children that. We've taught them that at a very young age, because, you know, again, human hearts, right? You're jealous of someone when they do well, and then especially, you know, if they're not doing well, there's almost like an inner glee, but we keep, you know, hidden, and it's sad. Unfortunately, some in our culture now, sometimes it's not hidden. But anyway, those are type of examples not going to work only with your spouse, but also with your children as well.
So when we experience celebrating with one another or hurting one another, that allows us to better know that person, and also we know better how to care for that person. So we're going to talk about relational needs. We all have needs: spiritual, physical, emotional, relational. Just like we need air, food, water. We were created to be connected. We're wired that way, to be connected with people. So we're designed to need things like respect, attention, security, support. And these are needs that can only be met inside of a relationship, because we're hardwired to connect. That's how God made us. So again, we have those needs, spiritual. So we have physical needs like air, water, food, sleep. Spiritual needs, which is peace, faith, forgiveness, purpose in life, and relational needs. And that's what we're talking about today: relational needs. Needs that can only be met when you're in a relationship with other people. And when relational needs go unmet, bad things happen. When we got married, we did not know how to meet each other's relational needs. And when you don't know how to comfort and care for one another, you have a lot of you have a lot of problems. But one thing about this is you have to know that when the family that you grew up in, you can't give what you didn't get growing up. So if your spouse needs a lot of comfort, support, and you didn't get that growing up, it's not a natural thing for you to give to somebody else. And then what happens is, when we are carrying around all this hurt and pain, we misinterpret other people's motives through our own hurt. So we need the next slide. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yeah. So we've been married maybe 2 years, maybe, and I worked at that time, and I used to pack my lunch to take to work. So I got home one day early, made a big bowl of tuna fish, salad. And I was gonna use that for the whole week to pack my lunch. All I needed to do was get up in the morning, slap it on the bread. I'd washed fruit. It was all ready to go. And I went to bed. He wasn't home yet. He came in later. When I woke up the next morning and went to go make my tuna sandwich, the whole bowl was gone. All of it. He didn't eat just a little bit of it. He ate the whole thing. Bowl was empty and in the sink. okay, I was furious because I felt disrespected. He doesn't care about me. How could he do that? So this is like, what, 6 o'clock in the morning? 6 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm screaming at him because he ate my tuna. I mean, I don't have anything to eat for lunch. So that's just an example of me interpreting my need, interpreting what he was doing, his intention through my hurt.
Yes, so this is just like the story you told earlier about when I saved her life, and she thought I was trying to kill her.
Tried to kill me.
So I'm in the Army. I'm working 12, 14-hour days. I'm burning like 10,000 calories a day, right? So when I open the refrigerator, I mean, I'm not thinking, well, how can I disrespect my wife? I'm starving. There is no sign on that side bowl says, do not eat. I mean, there was no sign there. I'm not clairvoyant. And
who eats the whole bowl? The entire bowl. Like all of it. It was all gone.
Listen. I was considerate enough to take the empty bowl out of the refrigerator and then put it in the sink. But again, we think about, again, what we're talking about. If you didn't get it when you're growing up, and there's different behaviors, triggers, and we'll talk about this even more so. Those certain behaviors, certain things triggers people to thinking something about your spouse when you have no idea. I'm just an innocent on me, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting this, but at that time I didn't learn to say or understand. Wow, I must have hurt you in some way, and I'm sorry. But what did I do later that day?
Well, later that day, he brought me lunch to work, and in this brown paper bag, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. Lunch is in 2 hours. There was a popsicle. I had no freezer, nowhere to store it. He had some other things in there, but the only thing I remember was the popsicle. I just remember thinking, why did he bring me? It's going to be melted by lunchtime. But at any rate, even though he wasn't the wonderful guy that he is today, I mean, he was pretty good, but anyway.
And I'm sorry I hurt you that way and was inconsiderate. And next time it won't be a popsicle, it'll be an apple.
So, next slide. So we're going to be talking about relational needs. Everybody has, if you turn to the first page in your book, does anyone not have one of those pink covered booklets? If you don't, raise your hand.
You got one? Okay.
So we all have needs, and these are the top 10 relational needs. And if you'll notice, it has the need, and then right next to it, it has what's opposite that need. So acceptance, affection, appreciation, approval, attention, comfort, encouragement, respect, security, and support. We need all of these things. We just need them to different degrees, but we need all of these things. So what we're going to do, we have the...
Yeah, so the QR code, I think it should be on your page. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's
here. You can use this QR code, and you can take an inventory and score your top needs that you have. So it'll ask you questions, and just go ahead and follow the instructions on there, and then.
Yeah. So when you the survey or the assessment will pop up on your phone. It'll may take you 10, 15 minutes at the most to go through it. And then when you finish, you will see those top 10 needs, and yours will be scored. So you may have like 18, 14, 13. So pick the top 3, and you may have 3 of your needs may all score 18. So those would be your top 3 needs. So take that relational assessment, and we'll give you about 10 minutes to do that.
And if you don't have a cell phone, you're just going to take a look at the list and make your best judgment. The smartphones. take a look at that same page in the book. Oh, it's not it? Oh. Yeah, it should be right there. I'll cue you guys.
Was everyone able to scan the code? Who did not scan?
Okay, we're going to get started in about 5 more minutes. Okay, we have some folks had technical difficulty with the QR code, but we're here all about your relational needs, so we're not rushing it. So Sheila, you ever thought about going back to Puerto Vallarta and go swimming again? We've come a long way there. And for those of you that are finished, when we think about intentional, if you want to have a strong, healthy marriage, why it's got to be intentional. These are these questions that you've answered. I don't know. We'll talk about this. We'll ask. How many of you, if this is the first time you've done an inventory like this? A lot of this stuff we're walking through life unconscious of our needs and not knowing that we need them, and then how to communicate. And if you don't know you need them, you can't communicate that you need them to your spouse. So this is why these type of conferences, these type of workshops are so important, because it brings you to another level of intimacy with your spouse, but also another level of intimacy with God. That's what we really ultimately want.
And I know for a lot of men, it's really difficult to identify feelings. When we got married, Kendall thought I had 2 emotions, happy and mad. Nothing else.
I didn't know there was anything else, to be honest with you. I mean, there's like 3 colors. There's blue, red, and yellow, right? I never knew what mauve was until I married her. But we're pretty simple guys. You're mad or you're mad or you're happy. And I think for men it's even much harder to identify these type of emotions and needs. Never had these kind of conversations growing up. Wouldn't know what have to even start again. When you spend time in the Word, spend time with God, and you get to these levels of things, it just further brings you in depth of your and maturity of your Christian faith. All right.
Who has not finished the survey? Who has not finished taking the survey? Okay.
Okay, guys in the back there, you have to stop eating dessert. Okay, you can't do dessert and survey. It's survey. No, I'm kidding. But eat the dessert after you finish the survey. The whole table raise their hand. I go, of course, you're eating. I didn't even get to dessert. Yeah. You know what? While we wait, for those of you that still waiting, it's I tell you about how we went to the prom. When as I mentioned, Sheila and I met in high school, and I had a good friend that wanted to take Sheila to the prom. We weren't dating yet, and he was really tall and lanky, and he's rather shy, and he didn't want to ask Sheila directly. He was too shy for that. So he asked me to ask for his behalf, could Sheila go to the prom with him? He said, Kendall, would you ask for me? I said, sure, Cedric, I'll do that. And so I went to Sheila. I said, Sheila, look, Cedric wants to take you to the prom. He's a great guy. You should consider going with him. And then what did you say?
I said, no. Tell him thank you, but no thank you.
Yes. But I couldn't walk away with just one attempt. He's a good friend. I felt like I owed him at least another attempt. So I said, come on, Sheila. Cedric's a great guy. He drives a Ford Mustang GT. You're going to get there fast, and you're going to get there in style.
And I still said, thanks, but no thanks.
Well, at that point, at that second rejection, I felt like, I fulfilled my fiduciary responsibilities. And I stepped out of that role, and I said, hey, Sheila, a little birdie told me you were free for the prom. And, like Paul Harvey used to say on the radio, now you know the rest of the story. Yes, yeah. So even with all of that early high school and college times together, and I just thought the marriage thing was just going to be a breeze. It wasn't as so. And so, for example, I was 1 year ahead of Sheila, so I was already working for 1 year. She finished college. We get married. I had my own apartment. She moved in, and then she moved everything in. And then the next morning I wake up and I'm getting something out of the bottom. It was an apartment. It was one of those apartments back in that day in the 80s where there's only like one sink in the bathroom. There's we didn't have vanities. Two different. It was just one. And so I'm getting stuff out of the bottom of the sink there in the bathroom. I'm going like, what's all this stuff? It was all just cluttered and like thrown in there. And then I'm getting my toothpaste out, and like this was back when there was like the tubes. And look, I'm in the military. My dad was drill. You squeeze at the end.
I say you squeeze wherever you pick the tube up. You just squash it.
And it's like, man, who? It looked like Mike Tyson beat up this toothpaste. I'm going like, who does this? Who are you? I'm thinking, oh my God, who did I marry? I thought I knew this woman. And so those little nuances, you learn to love the difference. You thought you knew them, but you didn't. But it's been an absolute blessed journey. Sometimes didn't feel blessed, but where we are now overall, I would not have changed anything. We're creating a legacy now with our children, grandchildren, where there's nothing on my other side of my siblings. We have nothing. I mean, it's been completely destroyed because of that separation and destruction that we've had and divorce. And like many of you grew up in a divorced family. The trauma of that as a kid, again, I never wanted to replicate that, but I didn't know how not to, other than love of Jesus Christ and what God's plan. When you get to these good Bible teaching churches, man, you think, what an easy formula. I'm going to stop being a know-it-all myself, and I'm going to start following the Scripture. In fact, when I joined that church, I talked about good Bible teaching church. I mean, Tony Evans, he said, all you guys think you're so smart with all those letters behind your name. You got all those degrees. You think that's going to do. If that was all the case, you should have a wonderful life. You shouldn't be in debt. You shouldn't have all these problems. But you do. Because wisdom comes from right here, right? I went home that day. I took down all of my degrees. I have 3 master's degrees. I took all of my military awards and all these different awards. I put them in a box, put them in the basement, and they're still there 35 years later. God's not going to ask you what your GPA was. He's not going to ask you, did you graduate summa cum laude? Did you feed my sheep? Did you care for my people? It's those things. I think we're ready.
Yeah, okay. So you should have your top 3 needs. Does everybody have their top 3 needs? Okay, and you can scribble them on the back of your pages. So how many of you share all 3 needs with your spouse? You guys have exactly the same.
Look at that. No one raised their hand.
Well, we got one.
Oh, we got one. Well, we have a unicorn. You get the prize. No, really. I mean, God designed us this way.
Yeah.
We complement each other. He doesn't bring twins together, right?
And so what you need is not the same thing your spouse needs. So we need to figure out what is it that our spouse needs, and then we need to fulfill that need. And if that's a need you didn't get growing up, it's going to be harder. So if you haven't already, share your need with your spouse. Has everyone shared their needs with their spouse? If someone else outside of your marriage is fulfilling those needs for your spouse, that's a problem. That's a problem. Knowing what your spouse needs allows you to care for your spouse better. So we're going to turn the page, and we're going to look at giving words of approval. So affirming character, and that's the very next page. Affirming character has a positive ripple effect in your relationships. When we take the time to point out the great things about somebody else, not only does it benefit that person, but it also benefits us because we're sharing that with that person. So why does it matter that we share affirming words? Because everyone wants to hear what other people think about them, the positive things that other people think about them. And a lot of times, we're not focused on the positive traits. We're too busy assessing what do we do and how well do we measure up against other people. So it's nice to know or just to have someone acknowledge your worth, your personal worth, beyond your performance. So affirming character and meeting another person's needs, that's a relational need. Affirming, that's a relational need. Approval is building upon and affirming another person's worth. It's also acknowledging a person for who they are, not for what they do. So can we play that video? This video is a great example of approval and appreciation.
Ms. Watson is my former chorus teacher from freshman year to senior year of high school. She's one of the best vocal teachers I've ever met.
I love my students, and I want them to have the best opportunities so that they can thrive.
Currently, I live in Los Angeles and I'm pursuing a career in entertainment. I know I wouldn't have been able to do any of it if it hadn't been for Ms. Watson. The last time I seen her was some years ago in 2008, 2009. And I realized I never really had a chance to let her know exactly how influential she was to my life.
Some of us, we haven't seen each other in 10 years. We hear anything to do with Miss Watson and we're like, we're there.
She's just gone through a rough patch with her health. So I just want to let her know that I love her and keep on pressing forward.
I know she's going to be really, really thrilled when she sees all of us.
Ms. Watson believes that she's getting ready to have a teacher interview at her school tomorrow. She's about to get a handful. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I found, was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
I never thought I'd see them all together like that. It's just great to feel loved and that what you do matters.
This is a small example of the gratitude that we all have for you in the many years you've invested into us. Because of you, I'm everything I am today. And I really thank you.
Well, everybody need a Kleenex? What words did we hear in that? You know, gratitude, what I do has meaning, purpose. It makes a difference.
I want you to think about your relationship with your husband or with your wife. And then I want you to reflect on specific character qualities that you admire about him or her. There's a list of qualities on the next page. So look at this list on the next page. And then I want you to identify 2 or 3 qualities. If you have something of your own, you can add something of your own. So look down this list, identify 2 or 3 character qualities about that you appreciate in your spouse. So just put a little check mark by them or something like that. And then I'll give you just about 1 minute to look through the list. And now I want you to plan out how you're going to communicate that to your husband or wife. Short sentences are usually best, just giving someone approval. includes just noticing their character and commending them for it. I love how dependable you are. I know that I can always count on you when I ask you to do something really short. So I'm going to give you just about 3 or 4 minutes. So if you'd stand up, and men, you go first, and tell your wife what you appreciate about her off of that list, picking 3 off that list.
Everyone take a stand up.
Yep. Men go first, and you tell your wife what you appreciate about her, and then after you tell her, she'll tell you. Can you turn up the music a little bit? Thank you.
One more minute. Okay, we're going to get started. Just glad to see so many of you have so many things, good character traits you want to share with your spouse. That's great.
A lot of people never do this. They never have an opportunity to do this because these kind of things just don't come up naturally in your life.
So remember at the very beginning, we keep repeating this. If you want healthy, intimate marriage, these type of workshops, the type of workshops that Pastor Charles is bringing forward in his church, those things are intentional, because this is what I tell our kids when we practice. I help prepare them for adulthood. How you practice is how you play. This is just like coaching, right? Football, any sport. How you practice is how you play. Well, guess what? If you're not in here practicing these things and doing these things, you're never going to get a chance to practice it. Or there's no app for this. In our busy world today, you're not going to find this type of activity, what you got this morning from Paul and from Deb. You're not going to get that any place else. You got to decide, I'm going to take a pit stop. This is the time to do it, okay? So what we're going to do, guys, we're going to break off into men and women sections. So the men, we're going to leave here and go to the chapel, and Pastor Charles will lead us through to where the chapel is located. We're going to spend a few minutes there together talking about specific things. Sheila's going to lead the women's group. You guys, the women, going to stay here. Guys, we're going to take a few minutes to have some man talk about our roles and responsibilities as godly husbands and fathers. And then we're going to regroup in here. So we're just going to be gone for a short time, 10 after 3, okay? 10 after 3. So Pastor Charles, if you would lead us in that direction, that would be great.
So we're actually going to do an exercise. I'm not gonna, I mean, you all know that it's important, to have Bible studies with your husband and to pray with your husband. Kiddo and I have done.
You know what? It's a smaller room, so we should be okay.
I think he's not turned off.
Yeah,
Okay, so having Bible studies with your husband, Kendall and I, the one that we like to always recommend to people is Experiencing God. Has anyone in here done that one? Yeah, so a few of you have done it. That is really a good one, and that was another turning point for us. And basically, this book just basically tells you how you can experience God, and I think it's like maybe it's a 30-day study. I can't remember. Is it 30 days? Yeah. And he just takes you through this. I don't think I have that slide, but he just takes you through ways that you know God. And he says, that God is always working around us, always, and that he invites us to join him in the work that he's doing. And when he invites us to join him in the work that he is doing, then we have to make a choice. We have he calls it crisis of belief. God, are you really asking me to do that? God, are you really asking my husband to run for office? Surely not. So you have a serious crisis of belief. And then when you're obeying God, you obey. And then you adjust your life so that you can do the thing that God is asking you to do. It's a great study. If you haven't done it, I would highly recommend the book. Can you put up the map? Okay, awesome. So if you can scan this QR code, so you can't have a marriage workshop without talking about the S word. So if you scan that QR code on your phone, and then I'm just gonna let you take some time to fill this out. So we were gonna do this together, and I was like, Kendall, that took me, 15 minutes to fill that out. He's like, the guys will be able to fill it out in like 5 minutes. I'm like, that's why we need to you go your way, we'll go this way, and then we'll fill it out. So you can, if you want to write, you can just write on the back of your packet, and this is just things that get in the way of sexual intimacy. Lack of openness, communication, unhealthy preoccupation with getting rather than giving, boredom, lack of creativity, lack of anticipation and expectancy. And I am by no means an expert in this department. I think it's something that we're all just constantly working on. So just write out the details. From your point of view, perfect sexually intimate time with my spouse includes, that's number 2. And then include details. Timing, location, clothes, everything. And I also want to mention this book. It's called Called to Love. And that's where a lot of this material, actually most of the material that we're using today, it comes from this book, Called to Love. It's a 40-day journey into marriage intimacy. And I would highly recommend getting it. It's an excellent book. Okay, so you can just look at this as your homework for tonight. It is Valentine's Day. And so, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you want anybody watching. I don't know. But since true marital intimacy includes the freedom to share all of yourself with your spouse. So it says exchange your love maps and then pick a private time and a place to discuss them. And, clarifying questions. And we always recommend that the woman's love map is fulfilled first and then the man's. So are there any questions about any of this? I had a hard time filling this out. So, all right, so we have about 10 minutes before they get back in here. So if you guys want to go to the bathroom, get some water, be back in here at 10 after 3, and then we'll do our last session. Are there any questions about anything? That book is called Called to Love by David and Teresa Ferguson and Steve and Barbara Ullman, Ullhman. It is David and Teresa Ferguson and Steve and Barbara Ullman, Uhlma is NN. Go to Amazon and put in Call to Love, it'll probably pop right up. So if you want to go to the bathroom, yes. Like the 40-day, no, they're more things like experiencing God, more like Bible studies. Yeah. He's experiencing God. I can't remember. It might be. Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's really good. I mean, it really causes you to think. It's by Henry Blackaby. All right, so you can grab a drink of water, go to the bathroom, and we'll just wait for the guys to come back.
right, we're going to get started. Let me just, how about now? Yeah. All right, we're going to get started, guys. So we ended both breakout sessions with this homework assignment. And as soon as I said this is going to be a homework assignment, all the guys all the men in my breakout started laughing. They were like, we can't wait. And I asked Sheila, okay, did the women laugh when you brought this up? No. I told the guys, they're not going to laugh. They're not going to have the same response. And I was actually right. So we'll get started.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We're going to talk about the concept of an emotional cup. This morning we talked about an emotional bank. We're going to talk about an emotional cup. And it's a great illustration of how feelings, particularly painful ones, can stay with us throughout life, and they can actually hinder us in life. Well, I didn't grow up in a family that was asking me how I felt about things, and were, they were interested in caring for me, in an emotional kind of a way. I didn't grow up like that. So when we got married, it wasn't natural for me to, look to Kendall's emotional needs. So the amygdala is the primary part of the brain that's in charge of emotion. Stefan? I said that word, great. I said I was a little nervous about saying that word with the neurosurgeon in the room. But we can better understand our emotions by thinking about the amygdala as an emotional cup. Because when our relational needs of acceptance, appreciation, and respect are met, then we experience good feelings. We experience positive feelings like gratitude and love and joy. But when we have too many negative emotions, like many of us do from growing up, those negative emotions crowd out the positive emotions, and our cup is full with negative emotions, and we don't have any room for positive emotions. And then we interpret other people's motives and their actions through our hurt. And we don't know how to care for people because you cannot give what you do not have. So manage your emotions, or they will manage you.
Yep, next slide.
Sometimes when we go through life, the negative emotions fill our cup. And when that happens, again, we don't have room for the positive ones, because just like a physical cup, you run out of room. And that's why this is just such a great illustration. You run out of room. So this cup concept reminds us that we can only hold on to so much emotion. Because again, like a real cup, we only have a limited capacity. So painful emotions need special care. And that's where your spouse comes in, your husband comes in, or your wife comes in. Because painful emotions, painful ones are experienced in five categories. Can we have the other slide up? The cup slide.
Yeah, there you go.
So these 5 categories, so it's hurt, sadness, disappointment, anger, resentment, fear, guilt, condemnation. And hurt and anger, they're like 2 sides of the same coin. So when relational needs go unmet, then we experience a combination of very painful feelings. And if we don't know what to do with those feelings, if we don't do something to intentionally empty out those negative feelings, then they build up and they bubble up. So when negative emotions
It's
build up,
it's much like the backpack rock analogy.
Much like the rock analogy, yeah. They begin to spill over in various symptoms like depression, impatience, anxiety, insecurity, addictions, physical ailments. Some people physically get sick. So we call that having a $500 reaction to a 50-cent issue.
Yeah, next slide. Yes.
Because the issue is not really the issue. You're not responding to your husband or your wife. You're responding to some feeling that they brought up in you, a trigger that they brought up in you, and you maybe had no idea it was there. So I'll let you tell your story.
Yeah, you're part of the story. So we might have we've had disagreements in the past, and we're getting some issues, and we're at an impasse. And you know, Sheila might say something like this when we're in an impasse.
I'm leaving.
So when I hear I'm leaving, growing up in a divorced family where everyone's abandoned me, I've just gotten used. So, okay, just go. I've learned to live my life on my own. I've done it on my own. I don't need you. I didn't need them, and I'm going to make my life the way. That word leaving triggers that response in me, because I've been alone my entire young adult, my childhood, everything. I had no one that really kind of cared about me. It was like I'm living in this home with my father now. Yes, we live in better circumstances, but we have 5 people living in under the same roof, sharing the same house for 10 years, and there's no emotion, no nothing, no connection, and no care. They've taken care of all the physical needs, but none of the emotional needs. And so when I got on my own, I worked through college, I paid my way through, I worked full time, graduated from college, earned all these things, so I can never be in that position I grew up in. And so when she said she's leaving, I said, okay, everyone else has. Now it's time, and see you later. I didn't need you anyway. Blah blah blah. All this other stuff starts coming out. So.
Yeah. So, which I thought was a very strange response.
And what did you say in that response?
Leaving.
Well, you're over the top. Oh. You're acting kind of immature.
Yeah, that's an irrational response to saying I'm leaving. I mean, I wasn't saying I'm like leaving you. I'm out of here. I'm divorcing you. But that's the level that he would take it to. You're leaving? All right, fine, great. Pack your bags, hit the road. And I'm like, what?
And what were you meaning to say? What was your intentions?
I'm going to go into the next room until we can cool off and talk about this with calmer heads.
That's a $500 reaction to a 50-cent issue. Trust me. Now, look, my situation may be extreme, but there's a lot of people that have these hurts that they've grown up with that have never been cared for, that they guard to make sure that they never get hurt again. And when stuff like that comes up, see you later. Nice knowing you. No, I'm just leaving the other room. Well, and then you start saying like, well, you didn't say that. You know, and then when Sheila got to understand how hurtful that was. I mean, look, she's never been in that environment. Her parents have been around for 60 years. She had a may not necessarily been the most functional, but it was much more functional than mine. And she never had to worry about that abandonment that I lived through. So I see a lot of heads nodding, so I think some of you guys understand that. But it could be different things. And you know, that someone might have touched you inappropriately as a young lady, as a young child, touched you inappropriately as you were a child, that it hinders you from having the intimacy with your spouse that you want to have or need to have. And those things need to be handled with care, right? Amen. And so that's why we should, look, I'm being totally vulnerable, and people say, like, I can't believe he's talking about this kind of. Because you know what, guys? First of all, when you have a relationship with God where you feel embraced and loved and cared for, I really don't care what other people think. So I'm pretty transparent about this, because I guess this is called real life. This is real life, right? So.
Okay, so in those times when your spouse is having a $500 reaction to a 50-cent issue, that's when they need someone to come alongside them and respond with care. So the problem is, a lot of us, we don't know how to do that. So, and with someone behaving like, okay, hit the road, get out of here, pack your bags. Do you want to go over and hug that person and go, let me care for you, honey? You don't want to do that. What you do is you say, well, you're being unreasonable, This is irrational. It doesn't make any sense. You're being immature. So the problem is, a lot of us, we don't have experience doing this. We say, what's your problem? You're overreacting. Or even worse, this was another trigger for Kendall, was just ignoring him. If he'd make me mad, I would just pretend like he wasn't there. But for him, it was that same abandonment feeling. It, caused the same type of emotion. So, if you don't take anything else away from this today, nothing else this afternoon, take away this. When your spouse is hurting, it's our job to respond with comfort, because comfort is the only thing that is going to empty an emotional cup. And that's not just for husbands and wives, it's also for children. We've done some of these exercises with our kids. Because even though we're raising our children entirely, totally different than the way we were raised, we can't give, what we didn't get. So obviously there were some gaps. So what is comfort? So comfort is responding to a person who is hurting with words, maybe a gentle touch, just sitting beside them, just, and saying nothing. You might just put your arm around them when they're going through a difficult situation. But the opposite of comfort is minimizing or overlooking another person's pain. So, again, as I said just a couple minutes ago, when Kendall would, get mad because I would say I was leaving, I would say, "You're overreacting. You're being so immature. You're being unreasonable." And I would get really irritated. But what I was really seeing in him was hurt. So we had to learn, this is something we had to learn, that in times of distress, that we need to comfort one another. So we're gonna do another exercise, and this stuff is not comfortable. It was not easy to learn. Of course, we're years and years and years into this, but the more you focus on loving God, the more you will see your husband or wife the way God sees them. Now, I know we have we have unmarried people in this room, people who are planning to get married? Yeah, awesome. So you know what, you guys, literally, take notes. This will save you a lot of trouble in your relationship. You're starting out with this. You're not getting it, 10 years into your marriage? So what I want you to do now is to share a painful memory with your spouse.
Next slide.
This is a memory, preferably before you were 12 years old. And you're going to share that painful memory with your spouse, and then they're going to care for you. And we don't care, again, with facts or with logic or spiritualizing, like, oh, the Lord, he knew what he was doing. If during this time, if you recognize something that maybe you've been doing that's tied to whatever your spouse shares, and that's been hurting them, you can take that time to ask for forgiveness. So when we're comforting, we say things like, I can see that you're hurting. That must have been very painful. I'm hurting with you. If it was something that maybe an emotion or something that you've been triggering, I'm really sorry for my part in that. I didn't understand. So we're going to take a few minutes again, and men are going to go first. We're going to stand up and kind of spread out just a little bit and think of a painful emotion or a painful experience, and share that experience with your wife, and then allow her to care for you. And then when you've done that, then you, the wife, you share a painful experience with your husband and allow him to care for you. So can we have the music turned up a little bit?
Okay, we're going to get started in about 5 more minutes. So you have a little bit more time, 5 more minutes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes, yeah, please.
First of all, we've been married 59 years. Yep, congratulate her. Congratulate her, not me. Because I told her that if I'd have married somebody like me, I'd have killed me a long time ago. And I could have never been married to me. But here she wants to share something, how God works in getting our relationship.
I met Jim, and we had a good relationship. And we got married. Oh, all right. Oh. We were married for quite a few years, and we just were talking about where we went to grade school. And ours was Cedar Crest. And he said, well, mine was too. And I said, wow, that's really something. And I said, I only went there 1 year. I was really, that day, the moms were supposed to come out. It was a special day, and they were out on the playground. But my mom had passed away from cancer when I was 9. And I was about 9.5 when I was at school, and I was so sad because I saw all the kids with their moms, and I didn't have one. Okay, but all of a sudden I was walking down by in the playground, and this little boy comes up and he said, why are you crying? And so I told him, I said, it's so hard because I see everybody with their mom, and I don't have one anymore, so I'm alone. And I said, and this little boy came up and asked why I was crying. And I told him, and I thought it was really nice that he actually cared. And Jim looks at me, his mouth hangs. It was him. It was him. I mean, I'm still floored. I mean, here I'm talking about it, and we didn't know for years, and I'm sharing, and he looks at me, and I said, what's wrong? That was me. I remember that little girl. Wow. I just had to share that. It was just, I mean, here we are, and now it's 50.
Talk about a God-sized moment. You know, guys, I tell you, again, I brought this slide up for a reason to talk about if you don't do these things and make it intentional, you know, you never get your intimate relationship. 59 years, and they've been together, and they didn't know that they were the same people. And the same. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Well, listen, guys, one of the things, I'll let you finish. This is something we teach our kids. You know, those 5 kids that you saw, we have 2 that are married, 2 on the runway to get married, and all of them have gone through a marriage workshop even before they got married. I just how important it is. So we've gone to these family life conferences, Weekend to Remembers, and you know they're doing those things now, and they're not waiting till their careers get to a certain point. You know, I'm a big believer, get married young, and you follow this formula. You don't have to worry about what the world does and what your careers are and all that stuff. So anyway, I just want to leave you with that, just intentional. I can't beat that example there. I mean, just that is just incredible, and it's exactly what God intends us to be. Grow closer together, even closer than you even think you are. That is a memory that they're going to pass on to their kids and grandkids and everything else, having been experiencing this exercise, right? How you practice is how you play.
And a lot of people never get to that level of intimacy in a relationship because we don't want to be vulnerable. You know, we don't want to be naked before other people because it's uncomfortable. But what's the greatest commandment? Again, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And that neighbor, first of all, is your spouse. So how do you see God? The Bible tells us that he will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. That's God's heart for us. So to help you just think about a little bit about how God might see you, just imagine Jesus standing before you and he says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. It's John 14:15. So how do you picture him saying those words? Do you see God as an inspecting God who's looking at you, shaking his finger? If you love me, you'll keep my commandments. And I know you don't because you're not keeping them. Or do you see him as a disappointed God? You know what? I knew it. If you loved me, you would not do this. And you just proved to me that you don't love me. Or do you see him as distant? Somebody who just really is just not interested? Well, any of those views will hinder you from loving God, and it will distort the way that you try to love other people. But in those verses right before the Great Commandment, Jesus says, trust me, I'm the way, I'm preparing a place for you, I'm coming back. What if instead we saw those words as a promise? That if you love me, he's confident. If you love me, you'll keep my commandments. So it's a promise that if you love him, you will keep his commandments. He's confident that you will keep his commandments. And if we put our priority on loving him, then all the rest of this stuff will take care of itself.
Yes.
Take it away.
And you know what? Someone asked me in the breakout, was there ever a time that I ever thought about, I regret marrying you and that type of thing. And you know what? These 40 years that we've had together, I can't wait for the next 40. We've grown closer together each year, and it's been an absolute delight. And we have a daughter-in-law. She's like Ruth. Yes, she's like Ruth. She adult baptism. She's come and embraced our way of life, our faith, when she wasn't even in the faith. And actually, she's going to bring either her family, depending on how things go in November, her family may move here to be closer to us because what they see in our family. And it is a neat thing, and it's all because we've stayed true to these things, and we've taken pit stops along the way to grow intentionally in our marriage. And it's over time, people see the difference, and all we're trying to do is grow closer to God together. And if we can do this, encourage you can do it. Encourage your children to do it, and your friends. Invite people to come with you in the next kind of workshop. I tell you, there is nothing better than the joy and experience and freeing of a relationship where you can feel vulnerable in. If anything, our culture needs more of this and more of this, right? That's how you live in a great community, when you have strong marriages, strong families. So thank you guys for being here. I want to thank Pastor Charles for inviting us to facilitate this, and the staff at the Hub. Pastor Paul and Pastor Deb. I even learned from them this morning. This was terrific. And I just wish you the blessings of God has to offer for you and your marriages, your relationships, your future marriages. And just tell you, the best is yet to come. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Well, I want you to stay up for a moment up here with Pastor Paul and Pastor Deb, if you can come up. This is really special. And tomorrow, you can come up on stage, yeah. Tomorrow will be even more beautiful to see candles help us go through vow renewal. And if we can cut off the life, that would be good. Thank you.